everybody, this is Super Robot back again with another penny stock coverage video. Reminder, this is not financial advice. Everything shared here is purely my opinion, but we're going to have some fun with this video. We have 4 really cool OTC stocks lined up to cover in this video. So one of them will be a follow-up on DDDX from last week, which did an 150% move and held all of its gains, closing near highs at the end of the week, and it looks primed to keep going. They have more news on the way, and we're going to talk about DDDX in just a moment. But first, we're going to look at a new really exciting stock that came onto my radar, UMGP. As you can see on the screen here, this is Universal Media Group Inc., and this is a media company in the OTC with some really cool connections to big-time celebrities, awesome share structure, and then if we look at their Twitter, you can see they've just teased that multiple announcements are coming. They said the company has been working on new and exciting opportunities. We are excited to share a series of announcements starting next week. So that was posted just this Friday, July 28th. So this coming Monday, we could possibly start hearing more news from this company. We'll see what they have to bring to the table this coming week. But let's talk about why I really like this stock, because I've traded this stock before in the past on numerous occasions, and it's always been a stock that can see some really nice runs. You see I brought the chart up here, and if we go back, let's look at the 2-year time frame. You can see the stock has done as much as $3.50 in the past, and right now it's sitting at about 37 cents. And we'll talk about the chart more in a moment, but you can see even back in March of this year, or around around January, February of this year, the stock made a run to over $1, so it hit $1.20, and now it's coming off pretty much hard bottom here. The hard bottom has been, in that 20-cent range, and it's starting to come up again, presumably because of Friday's tweet, and obviously we have lots of room to run on this chart. So we'll talk about the chart a little more in just a moment, but I want to talk about what this company does, what's going on here, why I think it's a great trade. If we start with the share structure, which I always like to look at, this is another low float. So this is actually a lower float than DDDX. And in my last video, I talked about how low floats can have extremely volatile, fast movement to the upside, because consider this, the market is essentially supply and demand. Well, what happens when there's high demand for a stock and there's a very low supply of shares available to be purchased? Well, it can drive the price up extremely quickly. So we have a 5 million or 5.3 million shares unrestricted. 21 million of these shares are restricted. And then we have our held at DTC, which is what I use as my reference to what the float would be, and that is 3.6 million shares. So we have a 3.6 million share float here with UMGP. And to compare to DDDX, right, DDDX is around 40 million share float. So this one's even smaller, which means you could see even more volatile price action on this stock. Just the nature of the game, right? The low floats are always going to be the most volatile in both directions, but obviously, again, we look at the chart, it's coming off bottom, it's pretty darn cheap here, so people are betting that we'll have a volatile move to the upside. So they have this tweet. We know there's news coming. Let's take a look at what that might be and what this, what to expect here, right? So they have mentioned back in June, they made an interesting tweet here talking about Netflix AI. And I am curious to see if the company has something lined up in the AI sector, because it's it's the hottest topic on the market right now. And they have right here hashtag tech, hashtag AI right next to UMGP. So that's highly speculative, obviously, but perhaps we see something AI related, since they were just talking about AI. But then they're also primarily a media company. And their CEO, Mike Sherman, is extremely well connected in Hollywood and within the celebrity realm, right? So if we look at their website, he has this show that he does called Before the Fame. And this is a show in which he interviews a lot of different celebrity guests over the years. He's been doing these types of shows for a long time now. And another thing we see on their website right away, which is really interesting, is currently trading on the OTC markets, UMGP is intently focused on uplisting to the Nasdaq by the end of 2023. And so we're coming into August now. We're getting pretty close to the end of 2023. You know, we're in that second half. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing if this company has updates coming out about an uplisting, because if they uplist to Nasdaq, I mean, obviously that'll skyrocket this thing. So that's definitely something to look for. And, you know, we talk about companies uplisting to Nasdaq potentially all the time in OTC. The difference is this one has the share structure to make it work without a reverse split. You know, it's already done, like I showed you on the chart, it's already hit $3.50 in the past on the exact same share structure, because I have my dilution chart here, and you can see there's been no dilution this whole time. No dilution. So the exact same share structure. This did $3.50 in the past, and has just recently gone over $1 as well. So obviously you need that $2 minimum price requirement to uplist to Nasdaq. But in this case, it's not a pipe dream, because we know that a share structure like this can genuinely do $2 and genuinely meet those requirements without needing a reverse split. So, you know, if the company can bring in some great news and really get people excited, then there's absolutely the potential to meet those Nasdaq requirements and do that uplisting before the end of the year, which would be fantastic to see. And so now what I want to do here, excuse me as I sort through my tabs, but we're going to take a look at their disclosures and see what's going on. So let's take a look at their annual report, because there's some really good stuff in here. And we'll scroll down, and what I want to show you first is the convertible notes. And let's talk about, you know, the convertible notes and why there's been no dilution. So you can see there are some convertible notes on the books, but, you know, the biggest one is owned by the CEO, asset purchase / loan, 1.7 million, but this is from 2016. So, you know, clearly this is not being converted. Nothing regarding this loan is being dumped into the market. And then the other notes, 2018, 2022, none of these have ever been converted either. And if we look at these two, which are really the only two that matter, because the other one's owned by the CEO, and he's not going to, you know, convert him onto himself because he owns a lot of shares as well. So he wouldn't want to devalue his equity, I'd assume, you know, based on what I've seen in the past, basically. That's what I'm assuming. And so these are the two notes that matter. And even if they did convert, it's $60K. I mean, that's really nothing in terms of debt on the books. So that's really great to see that there's very low risk of dilution with this stock. And as I've said, they haven't diluted before. And then this is the real gem here. So as of September 23rd, 2015, the company sold all of its previous assets and holdings, right? That's when Mike Sherman came in and took over this ticker. But what he brought into this ticker was 127 episodes on the mic. So this is his TV show that, you know, he's still working on producing new episodes and new series and things like that. But he has these old 127 episodes with celebrity guests, including Kim Kardashian, Justin Bieber, Flo Rida, Pitbull, Robin Thicke, Jason Derulo, Lil Wayne. The list goes on. This guy has done episodes with so many famous celebrities. It's just obvious he's very, very well connected within the realm of celebrities and within Hollywood. He knows the right people, and he knows how to get big names, you know, in his doors, and to get to sit down and talk with these people, you just have to be super well connected. So that tells me we're in pretty good hands here with this guy, because he clearly knows the business and knows how to network, right? So he can get awesome guests on his shows. So these are the type of guests that can bring in huge viewership, which would equate to, you know, huge future revenue. Then we can see as well, if we scroll down a bit more, here in officers, directors, and control persons, Mike Sherman, CEO, owns 18,700,000 shares of common stock. So this is 73% insider owned. So that just shows tremendous confidence in the stock from management to have 73% insider ownership and not be selling, right? There's been no dilution. So there's been no insider sales. These guys are holding their shares. They're locked up. They clearly believe in the future of this company, and they probably believe in the potential Nasdaq uplisting at the end of this year. So now I actually have right here, I have from their Twitter page, they uploaded this teaser for more episodes to come of Before the Fame. So he has two shows, right? We talked about On the Mic, and then he has also Before the Fame. Those are his two primary series and two primary series for the company. But I just want to play you guys this clip real quick because it's really cool.
Other Hells Angels saw me paint their bikes. Next thing you know, I became a Hells Angel. He had a hard head, I broke my hand. Jean-Claude Van Slammed.
Chucky Pancamo.
I had a flashback that I'm in jail. You kept Elizabeth Taylor waiting? I suggest. I love you.
Hi everybody, welcome to Before the Fame. And I'm your host, Mike Sherman. We have another amazing show for you today. Me and my good friend, UFC Hall of Fame fighter, Sugar Rashad Evans, sit down with New York City bad boy himself, Chuck Zito.
Beast from the East. I don't get who built what.
Pena de Morte.
God, look at the size of this guy.
I'm bad man.
Jeff, right here.
Just looks badass.
Now Chuck started out as a bodyguard with some of the biggest names in Hollywood. Then he slowly worked his way as a stuntman and then into big roles.
I do love you, Uncle Carlo. Legends live forever.
The real Hollywood bad boy.
Chuck Zito.
So there you have it. That is the teaser trailer for future coming episodes of Before the Fame. And you may have noticed that Rashad Evans is a co-host of Before the Fame with Mike Sherman. So we talked about these connections with big-time celebrities. There you go. Rashad Evans from the UFC is directly involved with this company. So to have a celebrity like that directly involved with a penny stock is extremely rare. You almost never see it. And when you do see it, it's a pretty darn good thing. So let's take a closer look at the chart now. What we have happening, if I zoom in a bit, let's go to the 1 year time frame. You can see that the 200 MA, the 200 moving average, is at 0.3679, and the price closed at 0.3740 at the end of Friday. So we actually just broke over the 200 MA. And you can see that last time we broke over the 200 MA, what happened? Stock ran to $1.20. So to break over the 200 moving average is a pretty big deal from a technical analysis perspective in this case. So I do believe that that's a very bullish signal on the chart. And again, another super bullish signal on the chart is this accumulation line. Look at that. I mean, this is the 1 year accumulation. We are at all-time highs on the accumulation line. Let's zoom out a bit. Look at the 2 year. We are still at all-time highs for accumulation on the 2 year. So that's pretty crazy. That means the float here is super locked up. There's a lot of people with shares that are just holding and accumulating more, which could create an explosive move on this thing. Obviously, in my opinion, nobody can predict the future, but that's bullish indicators that I typically will look for, is breaking over a 200 MA and also super high accumulation. Very positive in my opinion. And one last thing before we move on that I did want to show you in these disclosures as well. If we take a look at assets for the company, you can see the intellectual property they own. They own $2 million in value of intellectual property. Excuse me, a bit of a tongue twister, but right. So their intellectual properties that they own with all these past episodes is worth $2 million alone. So as they create more content and really drive up that revenue, you know, there's a lot of potential here to grow this business. And so that's UMGP. It's probably my top watch for this week just because it's coming off bottom. It's a low float. It has news coming. Everyone loves a nice catalyst trade. It's definitely one to take a look at if you're not looking at it already. Keep eyes on, obviously, their Twitter here, or it's X now, but keep eyes on their Twitter because they said exciting opportunities and a series of announcements starting next week. So series of announcements, that's plural. That tells me they have multiple things they want to talk about, which is always great because we love catalysts. We love trading catalysts, and especially on a low float like this. I really look forward to this one coming into next week. Let's follow up on 3DX Industries, DDDX, which we talked about last week. Again, it's made a 150% move since we talked about it, and it's held all of its gains. So if we look at the chart, you know, it tapped 0.75 for a bit, so 7.5 cents, but this has been that was like for a brief moment, and then it's been pretty much consolidating really nicely around 6.5 cents. And the chart just looks ready to leg up again. I mean, this is such a bullish close on the daily here with that full green candle. You know, volume tapered off a little bit at the end of the week, but pretty big volume throughout the week. And I think that volume is going to come back in starting next week. We can see accumulation's doing really well. Accumulation shot up quite a bit. MACD is very bullish. So this chart to me looks extremely bullish. We also have a little bit of a golden cross here with the moving averages happening, which is another bullish signal. So everything about the chart to me looks quite bullish. If we go back in the time frame, again, you're going to see this chart, you know, this stock with very little dilution or no dilution, and it hasn't had dilution in about 2 years now. So you can see that on the same share structure, it did over 30 cents before. And it's been a long time since this stock has made a breakout like this. So I do think, you know, the sky could be the limit here because it's such a clean chart. We've made this first big breakout in a long time with another very bullish close on Friday. Very excited to see what this does next week because they released an excellent press release last week, which is 3DX Industries completes classified helicopter components ordered for Standard Aero. So Standard Aero, for those that don't know, they actually had an $100 million plus contract with the U.S. Navy, which, as we know, DDDX also works with the U.S. Navy. And Standard Aero is just a massive aerospace company, you know, with hundreds and hundreds of millions, if not billions in revenue. Or here it actually says right here, revenue over $3 billion in 2022. So this is the type of company they're working with, right? Very few OTC companies have the privilege of working with such a large company such as Standard Aero. And what they've done for them is obviously in the headline, they've completed classified helicopter components that they've been able to make because they're such this unique company that does 3D metal printing. And there's so few companies that do 3D metal printing, especially when it's additive and subtractive manufacturing. So they're really well positioned, I think, to get more clients such as Standard Aero and the U.S. Navy. I think they're going to keep bringing in big name clients like these guys. And we know, right? We know if we go here from their July 24th tweet that they have press releases set for this week and next. So that was the press release for last week, but we know there's another press release coming for this week, which is another catalyst that can really shoot this chart up, right? Because we love catalyst trading, and catalysts are typically what makes these stocks go up in the penny stock market. So we have that catalyst coming this coming week with another press release on the way. If it's as good as this news was, you know, I think people will be very pleased and very excited about the future of this company. Here is a photo they posted of the helicopter that they actually did work on. So this is one of the helicopters they designed and manufactured parts for with their 3D printing technology. And this was developed for, of course, Standard Aero, as it says in this press release, $3 billion revenue company, right? So then they talk about how, you know, as I've mentioned before, they haven't issued a single free trading unrestricted share into the market for almost 2 years and no intention of starting anytime soon. And they canceled 5 million shares on May 30th. So we talked about this in the last video, but there's no dilution here. Not only is there no dilution, they're actually reducing the share structure even further. It's a low float. Share structure is beautiful. So they're really doing everything right in that regard. And now they have some more really exciting announcements from just this weekend. So this is from just yesterday, July 29th. And this is them with the 3DX bike. Take a look. There's their logo right there. So they designed and manufactured parts for this bike. And you might be wondering, well, that's a weird looking motorcycle. Well, it's not your typical motorcycle, right? This is actually, they are going for the land speed world record right now, this week, in Salt Flats in Utah. So they actually broke the old land speed record last year, and now they're trying to break their own record this year again. And as they say, when you want to go over 200 miles per hour on a bike, you need a badass dude. Mike Eden is one badass dude. So Mike Eden, pictured here, that's going to be the guy driving it, I guess. But hopefully they post like a video or something of the results, because I would love to see this in action. But again, this is just one of the cool projects this company works on. Is these guys are literally breaking records. I mean, how many penny stocks out there are breaking records? So this is just such an awesome company to me. I love their technology, and I love their creativity, and just their approach to what they do is just awesome. So definitely keep DDDX on the radar, probably my number 2 pick for this week, right? Such a bullish chart. Again, great close on Friday. I think this one and UMGP are going to make some really big moves this week, or at least I surely hope so, because they look very positive. Now we're going to talk about GVSI. This is a fan favorite in the OTC. I think basically everyone and their mother has some shares of GVSI. Of course, it's the George Sharp ticker, everyone's favorite OTC anti-hero. And, regardless of your opinions on George Sharp and what he says on social media, the guy knows how to get things done. He has years in the penny stock game. And he's responsible for, obviously, TSNP, which became Humble, which was the biggest run we've ever seen in penny stock history, from trips to over $1. It was incredible. Obviously, that happened a few years ago now, but he is behind GVSI. And it's a similar type of scenario where he's looking to, this is a shell company, and he's looking for a big-time merger, an awesome company to bring public through this shell. And that's exactly what he did with TSNP, and now he's trying to repeat that and hopefully find a better company than Humble wound up being, of course, in the long run. But I have confidence that he will find a really cool company to bring in here. So why is GVSI a hot topic now? Because we've known this story about GVSI for a while now, but as you can see from the chart, we're climbing up quite nicely from bottom here, and we're about to break over the 200 MA, which is at 0.0145, and the closing price on Friday was 0.0143. So we're just about there. We're so close. One more buy basically will send this over the 200 MA and create a really bullish scenario on the chart here. So the why for all of this and why are people excited again is right here on the GVSI Twitter page. And they announced on July 18th, having disposed of prior management's appeal to the SEC regarding FINRA's previous name and symbol change rejections, today, GVSI will apply for a name change to American Blockchain and a symbol change to either BLXS, BLKS, or BLCH. We do not know how much time FINRA may require. So why this is important is because as a shell company and as a custodian, they were having a lot of issues getting past FINRA for approval with certain things to basically prep this shell for an incoming merger. And so now that they've pretty much solved all the issues regarding FINRA, they're allowed to do the name change now, and that's also going to open the door for them to finally complete a merger. So people are thinking, okay, after this name change and after everything's cleared up with FINRA, we could be very, very close to a merger announcement here, closer than some may think. So most of the custodian process is pretty much completed now, and as soon as we see that name change hit, we could get a merger announcement any day now. Now, I'm not like a custodian expert like some people are on this platform, but I've been following custodians for quite a few years now, and I understand most of the process, and I know that once you get past FINRA's blockade, then you're pretty much in the clear to start getting real work done. So GVSI is another top watch for me. Obviously, we talked about the chart is looking quite bullish. I would love to see it break over the 200 MA this week, which I think it will. Very good accumulation spike here as well. Accumulation's finally curling up. There was a bit of a sell-off from a few months ago back in January, February, but now people are reaccumulating, they're reloading, they're trying to get back in. And what's nice is, it's not like they're loading this at bottom. The accumulation tells us they're still buying it here. So it's made, about a 50% move off bottom already, but or really 100% if you look at real bottom, which was like in the 007s at one point. So the fact that people are still accumulating the stock here is a very good sign as well, and tells me, yeah, we'll probably break that 200 MA and keep going up from here, because this is such a key update for the company, and everyone's super hyped about it. So GVSI, definitely one of the coolest tickers in OTC, one of the most traded tickers, one of the most liquid tickers in OTC, I should say. So definitely one to keep watch on. Let's move on to our last stock of this video for this week, and that's HIRU. And HIRU is a company I've talked about a lot on Twitter many times. I've been in and out of this stock so many times now over the past 1-2 years, probably 2 years now I've been trading this thing. And it's been a very consistent trading vehicle, right? But not only that, but the company's been killing it. I mean, these guys are really killing it. And I'm going to show you why, right? So if we look at the share structure, it's not a low float. but you know, it's fine. It's good enough to work with. So we're at about a 2 billion float there, but they're actually putting in a lot of effort to bring this float down, and that's what makes this play super interesting. And if we look at the chart, it's gorgeous. I mean, this is, you know, on a 6-month time frame, just so, because I wanted it zoomed in so you could really see how beautiful this thing is. Incredible accumulation line here. I mean, just steady accumulation. And then textbook stair stepper, right? I mean, we talk about a stair stepping chart where it finds higher highs and creates higher lows, and this is just textbook stair stepping chart here. We're riding that 20 MA and we're pulling up the 50 MA. So the 50 MA, you know, what I'm looking for on this chart is for that 50 MA to get pulled up just a little bit more to those mid 40s. And then I think we do the next leg here, because this is just leg up after leg up after leg up on the chart, and it's trading super nice. It trades clean. You know, there's no dilution happening. In fact, and this is what I really want to talk about, is the buybacks. So these guys I have right here, the common stock repurchase program. They PR'd this in May, and they've been sticking to the plan every single month here, which is that the company's goal will be to purchase up to $25,000 of common stock per month for the next 2 years and retire all of these shares to Treasury. So the goal is to bring the outstanding common stock to under 1,500,000,000. So they're going to cancel essentially over 500 million shares over time. They're going to buy back over 500 million shares, and then they're going to reduce the authorized shares to 1,750,000 to prevent future dilution. So this is like, if every OTC company did this, we'd all be rich. I mean, this is just awesome. It's so rare to see an OTC company do a buyback and actually stick to their word on it, right? Some of them will say they're going to do it, but then they don't do it. But HIRU's been doing it, and they tweet about it all the time. So we can see just from July 27th, another 1 million shares purchased today, 5.5 million purchased for the month, and financials coming soon. And so financials are, aside from the stock buyback, financials are a big catalyst coming on this stock as well, because this stock has one of the best revenues of any 00 stock in OTC. So we're going to take a look at their financials here, which I have pulled up. And you can see they have about $9 million in property, plant, and equipment. So they have physical facilities, and they're using them, which is great, because we're so used to so many companies, you know, you check their address and it's like a post office box in Ohio. So to see companies with real operations is quite refreshing for the OTC pink sheets. And then we're going to look at their sales, which they just did shy of $5 million in revenue for the first quarter of 2023. So we're looking at projected probably 20 plus million revenue for the year if they keep up on that pace. And look at how much they've grown since first quarter last year. First quarter last year, they did under $2 million in revenue. Now they're doing just shy of $5 million in revenue for one quarter. That is massive for an OTC pink sheet company. And then they're profitable, right? Gross profit of about $2 million. And then even after operating expenses and everything else, they still have a net income. So they're really running a great business here. What they do is water bottling, which doesn't sound exciting, but they partner with big companies, and they actually have done like a Shaq celebrity partnership at one point to make Shaq water, right? So, you know, water bottling doesn't sound exciting, but it certainly pays the bills, and it brings in the big bucks, and they're using that money to buy back shares. And we can see here, which I've scrolled up to, we can see convertible notes, nothing. Gorgeous. That's what you love to see. You love to see no convertible notes. So there's no risk of dilution here. The company's reducing its share structure and bringing in big revenues, and has a gorgeous chart, and they're active on Twitter. There's nothing not to like about HIRU. This is just one of my favorites. It's always been one of my favorites. You know, it has its moments where the price comes back down, but then they always make a comeback, right? So even when the market loses interest in them, people always come back to this stock in a month or 2 months. And right now, I don't think there's any reason to lose interest in this stock, because everything just looks super bullish to me. So yeah, those 4 stocks, you know, we've covered UMGP, which I'm super excited for this week because it's a fresh one, right? Fresh stocks are key. That's where the big gains are made, is when you can get on a runner early while it's still fresh. So you can't really get much fresher than UMGP because, like I said, they just tweeted this Friday, like right before close, that they have a series of announcements coming and they're excited about it. So that's a super fresh play. I expect people will most likely be piling in, because that's just, we're catalyst traders. So when we see a catalyst like that on a low float, people tend to pile in. And we talked about supply and demand on a low float and how when there's big demand for shares, but there's a low supply of shares in the float, then what happens? The price can do really fast moves upward. So then we have DDDX. Again, just look for more news. This company's pumping out great news left and right. So stay tuned for them this week. They have big PRs. We're going to stay tuned for GVSI name change. And we're going to stay tuned for those HIRU financials. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That pretty much wraps it up. I think those are 4 really strong picks in the current OTC market. So definitely do your own research, form your own opinion about them. I'm not telling you to buy anything. I'm not promising any of these will go up. It's not financial advice. But to me, these all look very promising. And I hope you guys enjoyed my research and my coverage on these stocks. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back next week. Take care.